Hello and welcome to the latest installment of PSG Talking. I'm your host Ed, and on today's show we're talking all about PSG's 1-1 draw against PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League. But before we get started, let me thank all of you out there who have subscribed to PSG Talk's Extra Time on Substack. We really appreciate your support. Hope you enjoy the content we've been putting out. Later this week, we're going to have a great column from Robin Berner, and he's also going to join me for a quick chat as well. He's the chief editor of Football Transfers. So go ahead and subscribe. You make sure you catch that content later this week. But today we have a great guest. Joining me is Ethan from PSG Fan Club Boise. Ethan, it's been a minute since we last talked. How are things for all your sports teams right now? I guess you have the Dodgers, right? But everyone else not doing so hot.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm a pretty casual Dodgers fan, not the biggest baseball fan, but well, my Lakers season just started a minute ago, but other than that, yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of blown leads from my Niners, USC Trojans, and of course PSG have been in a slump. And crazy enough, PSG have probably been the best of the three recently, which is not saying much. So, but
Who needs Kylian and Ethan Mbappe when you can have LeBron and Bronny Jr., right?
oh my gosh, yeah, you know
Something to
it's
look forward to.
oh yeah, it's funny being a USC fan that they drafted Bronny, and I'm thinking this guy wasn't even third best dude on the team last year, but to take a late shot, late second rounder on him, it's not the worst if he develops, but the hype around him is pretty silly. I think it's something.
Yeah, just can't get away from Bronny. I think they tip off later tonight. We are recording this podcast on Tuesday evening, about 8 o'clock local time for Ethan and I. So we'll have to tune into that after this podcast. But we've got one heck of a game we have to talk about, Ethan. So let's just get right into it. I'll do a little kind of recap of the major moments, and then I'll get your initial takeaway. So the match 1-1 between PSG and PSV at the Parc des Princes. Noah Lang scored in the 34th minute. PSG carelessly gave the ball away right around midfield. Marquinhos didn't press Lang close enough, and the PSV attacker fired a shot from the edge of the box that Gianluigi Donnarumma didn't even bother to make an effort to try and save. He was completely planted to the ground and didn't move. Thankfully, Achraf Hakimi was able to answer that goal in the 55th minute with a shot from distance of his own. PSG maintained possession around the edge of the box. They were probing around before Hakimi just put his laces through the ball, put it past Walter Benitez, the former Nice goalkeeper. So beat him 1-1 PSG. They applied pressure throughout the match to the tune of 26. That's right, 26 total shots, 8 on target. They had an XG of 2.43, but still only managed that one goal from Hakimi. I thought late in the match, we're going to get into a little bit more in depth. They should have been awarded a penalty late on. So we'll talk about that just in a minute. But Ethan, with that big setup, what is your initial takeaway from this match?
Yeah, initial takeaway is this is kind of same as always. We create a load of chances. We never seem to have a problem creating chances. I mean, if we finish chances at the same quality that we created them, then PSG would be one of the best teams in the world without a doubt. But it's the finishing. I mean, I know that Dembele has never been known as the greatest finisher in his career, but um, even by the pretty low expectations for goal scoring we have for him, oftentimes he couldn't do it today. He hasn't done it a lot in the past. And then just the other guys. I mean, the lack of having a true nine. Of course, tactical decisions will always be, especially if it's not just cut and dry, will always be speculated upon and controversial between fans. But not having a true nine might have hurt us, especially at the end of the game. I mean, all those balls that we were whipping into the box to Kolomwani, they looked dangerous. We took too long to start doing that. So and we allowed almost nothing as far as XG for them. I mean, they they really should not have scored once. And yeah, it's just another game where we should have won 2-0, maybe 3-0 if we were really clinical, and it's a game that ends 1-1. I feel like we've just seen this far too much in the Champions League in the past 12 months.
Absolutely. I mean, you called out a couple things that. So I guess for me, my initial takeaway is yeah, just the lack of goal scoring. We're going to talk a lot more about it, how to fix it, what do we think can be done, but it is incredible. I mean, I don't know if another team could do what PSG is doing right now if they tried. The number of posts again tonight, Dembele off the post. I tweeted out during the Strasbourg match that if PSG could just, if the goal was just a little bit wider, maybe just a few inches wider, a few inches taller, they would be the most prolific scoring team in the history of football. Like you said, they have no problem creating chances. They just can't score. The number of posts that they hit and crossbars, it's truly mind numbing. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I need to go, and sometime when I've got a little bit of time, I want to look into how many times have we hit the post in matches where we've hit the post. How often have we done it compared to goals scored? And I know a lot of people could say, and a lot of casuals, people who aren't PSG supporters, will probably look and be like, oh, they're really missing Mbappe. And of course, it'd be great to have. He's a good finisher. I wouldn't say he is. Well, he's world class, but as far as his finishing, I mean, his finishing's pretty dang good, but it's not cream of the crop, but it's still extremely good. And so we're certainly missing him in that regard, but it's just he wasn't a true nine last year, and not really his fault that he was mismanaged a little bit, and not his fault that he hit the post a couple times and our other guys hit the post. But I feel like a lot of people will think, man, they're really missing Mbappe. Look at this lack of goals. When the reality is, like you said, if the goals are an inch taller and 2 inches wider, then we've probably got we probably made a Champions League final last season.
Well,
And
what do you put that down to? Is it a skill thing? Is a lack of concentration? For me,
yeah,
these are professional footballers. There was a great clip of João Neves assisting Dembele with his chest.
with his
Like
chest,
he
yeah,
redirected the ball right in the path of Dembele, set it up perfectly for a perfect volley, and he just blasted over the crossbar. And I tweeted, I said, "You are a professional footballer. You have to put that on frame. You just have to." So, like,
yeah.
what is wrong with these guys? Put the ball on the frame. Make the goalkeeper make a save. Don't shoot it over the crossbar. Don't hit the post. Put it into a corner somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a little of both. It feels like you could certainly say that the skill of finishing skills or just talent in the squad is obviously it's been reduced from last season, but you've still got. I mean, we can get into this later, but I just think Gonzalo Ramos out hurts us a lot, and Luis Enrique not trusting in Colomwani also hurts a lot because I feel like we're doing this same thing every game where we start Asensio or Kang-In Lee at false nine. It doesn't work for 65, 70 minutes. Then Colomwani comes on and he creates loads of chances, but he's only got 20 minutes, so he doesn't get a goal. If you gave him 90 minutes, there's a pretty good chance he'd have a goal, if you give him
Yeah.
double or triple the opportunities. So,
Kang-In Lee was the false nine against Arsenal, 0 goals. And then against PSV Eindhoven, we had to rely on a right back to score a goal. Like, I
yeah.
don't know what Luis Enrique is seeing, but Kang-In Lee as a false nine has to stop. I don't want to see it anymore. It's nothing against him, but you're playing a midfielder as a striker. Not going to work.
Yeah, it's not for the Champions League. For Liga, we've seen that it works pretty well, but at this point, the way I see it, and I'm no tactical genius, so I could be off here, but it looks like we got to play with a real striker. And Colomwani's more like Mbappe than he is Gonzalo Ramos, but I would still, Colomwani is a much better profile to have in there than Asensio or Lee. So, yeah, I mean, part of it is I tweeted right after the game. I said, "There's no way that these dudes are working on finishing a lot during the week." So I think it's a skill issue that we don't have we have great creative attackers, but not a lot of clinical ones. And the clinical ones either went to Madrid last year or got injured in the first 13 minutes of our season. And then, I mean, Colomwani's, and then the other, I guess if you want to add a third one, the third one just, he gets 20 minutes a game. He gets a little 20-minute cameo every single match. And then Luis Enrique doesn't trust him enough, apparently. So it's tough. And I'm not saying we have to go to this classic, try and get out wide and lump a ball into the box and try and get it on the head of a striker. That's not what I'm saying at all. But especially at the end of games, when they're frantically trying to hold on to that one point they got, it would be nice to have had a dude that played a bunch of minutes and he's already tested this team in the air, and just keep going at it. I mean, if we had done what we did in extra time, the 7 or 8 minutes of extra time, if we had done that for the last 20 minutes, just really piled the pressure on, play frantic, play aggressive, then I bet we get a goal, because they didn't really ever look dangerous. Like they had a couple counterattacks where they dribbled down into our end, maybe beat a defender, but there's one or two there more to cover him and to mark him. And they didn't they didn't do a whole lot. And the fact that we didn't win because, I don't know, in my mind, it's because we just didn't play a striker for long enough.
And you almost think, just based off of the transfer fee that PSG paid alone, that you would put Colomwani in there. I know he's not in the best of form, but it's coming up on decision time for this guy, where you need to decide, is it time to move on from him, or are we going to stick with him? You pay 95 million euro. You got to play him in matches like this. Gonzalo Ramos is down. Clearly, Kang-In Lee isn't working. Put him up there. He's the best available striker that you have right now. He's the most typical striker that you could put there. There's no other option for you, I guess. If you did want to do a false nine, and I mentioned this when the lineups came out, I'd rather see Marco Asensio as a false nine before I'd want Kang-In Lee there.
Yeah, I'm honestly not too well versed in this, but I feel like from what we've seen the past couple weeks from Lee has been more promising than Asensio. But I think the differences between the two might be marginal. Of course, Asensio's got the experience, but Kang-In Lee is probably he's a better dribbler, and he's probably quicker and probably just better athleticism right now. But yeah, the issue is that our best attacker, like you said, our best striker has just not been on the pitch. And I think the example of Colomwani not getting many minutes, despite, I'm not going to say he's a great player. In fact, for PSG, I don't even think he's been a good player. But he has a role that he can play in these kind of matches, and I don't think we're really giving him the chance to possibly play in that role. I feel like he's a classic example of the coach didn't want him, but either the sporting director or president did. In this case, where it's pretty widely known,
Kylian Mbappe wanted him.
Yeah, true, yeah, and I feel it. All the evidence points to him being a Nasser signing. That's probably how it went. And so the sporting director or president signing a guy that the manager doesn't want. I mean, we saw this with Ugarte. Ugarte can be a good player. Unfortunately, he's not going to look good where he is playing right now, probably. Sadly for him, nothing really against him. It's just Manchester United are not very well managed for the most part.
Vinicius Jr. would look terrible at that Manchester United team right now.
Yeah. So it's just, they're just dysfunctional all over the place. So I'm not even really faulting Ugarte, but it's just the same thing with him. It's a guy that the coach, maybe he thought he wanted at the beginning, and then kind of quickly realized his profile's not what we need. And I don't know. That said, I feel like in the past couple weeks, just in all sports, obviously you and I, we watch a ton of American football as well as European football, but I feel like we're seeing more and more where good coaches have a system that'll work real well. And every system has pros and cons, but they make it work real well. But the great coaches are the ones that can adapt to any system. I feel like we're seeing certain coaches in college football. I mean, I can just point out my USC Trojans. Our head coach Lincoln Riley has this system, and it works when it works, but when it doesn't, then you're SOL. The same thing I'd say with my NFL team's head coach, and you could say the same thing with Luis Enrique. It's a great system for a lot of types of games, but some games, some opponents, it's just not a good fit. So you see these coaches like Carlo Ancelotti, or you see NFL coaches like Andy Reid. They're so good at adapting to what's been given to them. They're so good at, they're not just
Overcoming injuries is a big thing. Like we're talking about Gonzalo Ramos is out injured and we're struggling to score goals. It's a kind of a silly example, but look at the Chiefs in the NFL. How many receivers are injured? Their
yeah,
running back is injured, and they're undefeated.
yeah.
It's next man up mentality.
Yeah, it's those great coaches, they make it easy to do the easy stuff, I would say. You see on the Chiefs, Andy Reid, he's not going to try and, they played my Niners last weekend. It was a rematch of some of the last couple Super Bowls. They didn't have Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice, prime Travis Kelce. He's still there, but he's not as good. They didn't play us trying to beat us over the top with all these long balls like they did in 2020. They gave their speedy, quick guys easy stuff, dump offs in the flats, and gave them room to run. And it's the same way when Carlo Ancelotti goes to Real Madrid, and he's been at so many clubs. I mean, the guy was at Everton for Christ's sake. I don't know how he was still at Everton, but he made it. He makes it work at every club, regardless of who is given to him, who he's got. He doesn't have some
Same with Pep
system.
Guardiola with at
Yep.
Bayern and City and
Yep. Yeah.
Barcelona.
I feel like those are the great coaches. Those are the coaches that win championships. They can make players, they don't make players fit the system. They make the system to fit the players. And this sort of, for me, and I guess we'll go into this a little more, but in a bit. But Luis Enrique likely to be extended here pretty soon. To me, he's a top 10 manager in club football, but he's pretty clearly not like a top 4 or maybe 5 manager. And you got to think, is that good enough to get to reach our goals? I don't know yet.
We don't know, and the extension is not official, but it is all but official that he'll be sticking around for at least 2 more seasons. So we'll have to see if he can get this sorted out. It's certainly problematic. I wonder, we've seen a bit of a regression with Warren Zaire-Emery. We're seeing Dembele not able to score. Barcola is who he is. He's scoring goals. Didn't score tonight, but I think his development has been pretty good. João Neves has been really good. So it's kind of been a little bit of an up and down with Luis Enrique. And I do wonder, to your point, if he needs to start maybe adapting his system to fit what the players do best and really work with them one-on-one and say, this is what I need you to do. Before we get into a little bit more on the attacking stuff, one thing that stood out, Desiree Doué comes in the 81st minute. I wonder if he did go to Bayern Munich and they had a match against PSV. Would he only get 20 minutes for them as much as they wanted him? I can't imagine. I wonder. I wonder why Luis Enrique is not playing him more. I'm really confused about that. And then Vitinha. I don't know what his injury situation is, but if you're going to play him 90 minutes against Strasbourg just a few days ago, why does he only get 30 minutes against PSV Eindhoven when he's clearly our best midfielder? João Neves is really good too, but I still rate Vitinha a little higher. Why wasn't he starting? And on social media, people were saying, "Oh, he wants a little bit more height in the midfield and more physicality." I'm like, is Fabian Ruiz that much more physical? Is he? I mean, okay, maybe he's taller, but I wouldn't say he's more physical. Warren Zaire Emery is shorter in stature, but I would say that he's a hell of a lot more physical than Fabian Ruiz. So I don't know. The justification of the choice in midfield there didn't make any sense to me. I don't know why Vitinha doesn't start there.
Yeah, I know he's had some issues with, he's had a little bit of lingering injuries recently. And I know that he finally just played like a full 90 minutes with Portugal last week, where he was feeling good the whole time, and he put in a good 90 minutes. Whereas it felt like before he was either coming off the bench or just not putting in a full shift of quality, and you could kind of sense something was bugging him. But um, the fact that he played 90 minutes for Portugal, and then I don't think he started a couple days ago for us, did he? And then
I looked it up. I think he did, and no slight to Fabian
well then,
Ruiz,
yeah,
solid player. He did get the assist for Hakimi's goal. I'm just looking up. So against Strasbourg on the 19th, yeah, Vitinha started. Doesn't look like he was subbed off.
he wasn't subbed off. Oh wow, I don't remember. Wow, I was remembering that incorrectly then. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, that's strange. He's going to play. I mean, it doesn't. I don't get the feeling that Luis Enrique is a big load management guy. He's not going to be like, yeah, let's definitely sit dudes, and like he will. Every manageable coach will rest guys a bit, but he's not a guy that's thinking, oh, I want to give we have to give our players a good week off of matches before a Champions League game. That's clearly not his mentality. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I know this is kind of random, just out there, almost changing the topic, but essentially both of our goals that we've scored in the Champions League group or the league phase, despite having like 4.5 expected goals, is two shots. I guess if you want to call Nuno Mendez's a shot, two shots from
I think it was
fullbacks.
an own goal against Girona. Was an own
It
goal.
was. It was when it did go down as an own goal. Yeah, but you've got basically two shots from both of our fullbacks that go between the keeper's legs that should have been saved. If both of those shots are saved, we have scored no goals. We
In 5 Champions League, going back to last
Yeah,
season against Dortmund.
and we wouldn't have a win
Yeah,
so far this league phase. Yeah, it's a big issue, and and I don't think anyone's expecting Gonzalo Ramos to be like prime Holland or Lewandowski's been amazing so far this year. I don't think we expect him to be like that, but I mean, when the guy was not playing with Mbappe last season, when he was actually, playing in his natural role as a true nine with no wide forwards kind of getting in his way, he was really good last year. And if he gets back to that same level, or better, then I cannot wait for him to get back because it cannot come soon enough.
absolutely cannot come back soon enough. And we're a little bit doom and gloom here about the lack of goal scoring, and that definitely is a major issue. William Pacho, incredible performance, I thought. Nuno Mendes was solid. Hakimi, best right back in the world right now, if you ask me. I thought João Neves was really good. I mean, there were some really good bright spots here. It's the goals, and it's getting into their head. I think they know they haven't really scored that much. It's starting to eat into their psyche a little bit, and it's impacting them. And this is where the coach has to come in, settle those nerves, change something. I feel like this team is sort of like bashing their head against a brick wall with whatever the instructions are. It's not working. It might be the perfect plan, but you may not have the perfect players to execute that. Or maybe Gonzalo Ramos would be the person to unlock it. Maybe you should have went for a Victor Osimhen potentially last summer for a goal scoring threat. Whatever it might be, whatever the players you're missing, you have what you have right now. And so it's up to the manager to change something in the team to get goals to be scored. Because in the game of football, Ethan, if I'm not mistaken, you have to score goals if you want to win things. Like, I think I understand that concept. If
That's
you're not scoring goals, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that's typically how it works. Yeah, unless you want to be that team that gets into knockout games, parks the bus and then tries to win on penalties. But good luck winning 4 or 5 penalty shootouts in a row. If you can even,
We can't even get one penalty.
yeah.
We can't even get one. We'll get to that one,
Oh,
but we can't even get one
we'll get to
penalty.
that in a minute. Yeah, it's really. I know. I hope it doesn't. It clearly does affect the players' mindsets, but they're honestly doing pretty much every other facet of the game well, except for the only one that matters, which is goals. So if they can start, I mean, really, just keep doing what you're doing, but in attack, try and just find a way to make it a little easier for yourself, and these goals will start to come. So, I mean, the sucky thing is, it's weird to say that. A casual would think, "Oh, they're playing so bad. Look at these lack of goals." Outside of literally the final moment of every attack, when a player is swinging his foot, head, or chest at the ball, other than that, other than shots, we're doing pretty good. Like, we're playing good football. And yeah, it's just that's the one thing that's missing. So, and it's crazy that it's not even crazy that it's just because of Mbappe left. That's not even it. I mean, this, as everyone knows, this problem went back to last Champions League
He
campaign.
didn't. Yeah, he didn't score against
Yeah,
Dortmund.
he hit the
So
post as well. So it's
yeah.
just we were just like the whole team. I mean, it feels like yeah, Mbappe's done pretty well since he went to Madrid. I mean, if you take away, he hasn't earned that many penalties, and kind of like most of his goals are penalties. But I think we kind of knew there might be a little bit of learning curve for him there, especially because he's not a true nine. He should be playing on the left wing, but you can't replace Ballon d'Or winner Vinicius here. He's going to win the Ballon d'Or next week. Um, but like, yeah, it wasn't even just him. It feels like whoever's at PSG, once you join PSG, you all of a sudden you just won't be able to shoot the ball. So it's gosh, it's crazy. I can't wait until we have a Champions League game where we just score 3 or 4. We outperform our XG. Oh, I can't wait for that. The players need it really bad.
Yeah, we definitely need it really bad, and we'll get to League on action because we got a big one on Sunday. We'll talk about that one, but we need some goals here soon because this is a really difficult stretch of matches coming up. So, let me see. What other questions about this match did I have? Okay, let's get into the penalty. We talked about that a little bit. Second half, late on, Olivier Boscagli. Hopefully, I got that. I think I
I
butchered
actually have
that.
no idea how to say his name. Sorry.
I can't. I'm not going to try. We'll just go with PSV defender. Appeared to take out Marco Asensio from behind. It was initially given by the referee as a penalty. Then VAR got involved. The referee went over. He looked at the monitor. After watching the replay, he decided no penalty. I've watched this thing several times, looking at it right now. There is no mistake that the defender, his knee appeared to hit into the back of Asensio's leg before he even touched the ball. There was physical contact from behind in the box that upended Asensio. Did he make the most of it? Sure. But what football player doesn't make the most of it? Arms were flailing. I'm not going to hold that against Asensio. They all do that. But I'm looking at clear as day contact from behind that impacted what Asensio was trying to do. He's running towards goal. How is that not given as a penalty? The referee had it right. He goes and look, and yes, after Asensio's leg is contacted, then the player gets the ball. But that should be irrelevant. The contact happened first. We've seen penalties like this go against PSG quite a few times. We've seen other teams benefit from it, but of course, it's PSG, so it's reversed. 1-1, the game ends. What are your thoughts on the penalty?
Yeah, the first like 3 times when I saw it on replay, and initially I'm thinking, I don't think so. Like the defender cleared it pretty good, and then the ref gave it, initially, and I'm thinking, oh wow, like I mean, he had a better view than me. I'm just looking at it on my laptop while I'm at work. But then he goes to the review, and I'm looking at it, and I'm still seeing him, the defender, get his foot on it, and I'm like, I don't think this is a penalty. And then I'm thinking, well, let me like watch like Asensio. Let's try and see where the contact is made. And then I see the knee driven into Asensio's hamstring, and yeah, I think Asensio played it up a bit. But I mean, you look at the way the ball was coming in, Asensio's angled towards goal, and then the contact, and yeah, the contact may not have been anything crazy, but I mean, I know it was like right there on kind of the side of the goal. Like he certainly was not one on one with the keeper if he got that his foot on the ball, but it wasn't it wasn't like a nothing chance either. All that given, I've really thought about it, trying to be unbiased. If I'm a ref, I'm probably 80% giving that a penalty just off of how I can, I'm trying to think I'm replaying it in my head right now. So you're totally right. The knee gets Asensio first, then as the defender extends his leg to clear, he gets the ball, but the damage has already been done. He's already hit Asensio, definitely hard enough for a defender to go down, or an attacker to go down, excuse me. And after that, when I was thinking, no, this is not a penalty. And then on the very last review, before the ref turned away from the monitor, I saw that. I went, oh, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this penalty. And then he said no, and I just couldn't believe it. I really feel like 8 or 9 out of 10 times that would be given a penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get that there's definitely an argument to be made where, well, Asensio may not have, his positioning right before, he may not have got on his foot onto the ball, or maybe the contact was a bit weak. So it certainly was not like a unanimous, like daylight robbery, but like I said, I think 8 or 9 times out of 10, a ref would give that. So I think that is a shame that we didn't get that penalty, because I really think Asensio did enough to deserve it.
And I misspoke a little bit. So it was Hakimi who put in a cross there on the right side, and it was really a perfect cross into Asensio, who was running onto the ball. He could have taken it, first time shot, and you never know what kind of deflected shot maybe it goes in, or maybe he takes a really good touch. He's certainly capable of it, and then maybe crosses back over for someone else to score. There were a lot of options open to Asensio, and he was taken out from behind. There's no question about it. We talked about NFL earlier. What is it that they always say with when they do use instant replay? When they make a call on the field, that is very important, right? Pass interference. So when you go to the replay, it has to be clear, indisputable evidence that what you called is not really what happened, for you to reverse your call.
Yeah, if you're going, and of course they're obviously probably not going exactly by NFL, the rules that we're used to, but there has been a precedent set where, yeah, if you go to VAR, it's got to be fairly clear that you're right, or that you were wrong. But yeah, if we're going by the measure of, you got to be like certain, beyond a reasonable doubt, like you could, take it to court and get a verdict from 9 jurors about it, then however 9, 7, how many jurors there are, I don't know. I haven't been to jury duty in a couple of years. Then I feel like there was really no way that he could overturn that, but then he did, and it was so weird. I was just going back and like I said, going back and forth on that. I flipped like a 540. I was like, I did 180, and I was like, oh, that's a penalty or not a penalty. After being initially excited about the whistle, and then I'm thinking, no, 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 that's it's not. And then I was sure it was, and then at the end, the guy gives us the no call, and yeah,
I think it's even worse. It's from behind. This wasn't like the defender was locking step with him, arm in arm. No, he was coming from behind. He was sliding recklessly and made contact from behind. That's almost always given as a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, why? Yeah, Asensio was going to have something to do with that ball, and I get that. He's thinking in the box. I just, what the ref should have done. If he's not going to give that as a penalty, then give Asensio a yellow for diving. But I don't think you got one, because
No, you're
you
right. I'm
you
looking
you
at the
either
stats. He did not get a yellow for
you
diving.
either have to believe that he dove, or that's obviously a penalty. And based on the refs, maybe he just screwed up and just didn't get either right. Didn't give the penalty, but then also didn't give a yellow for diving. Then, unless he went 0 for 2, which I mean is not out of the realm of possibility. But realistically, it's one or the other. I really can't. I really can't believe. I mean, if the ref had just said no, that was a dive, then at least we feel like he was really confident in his decision. Then he was like, yeah, like that contact was soft. But he didn't do that. So now we're all second guessing him, and we feel like he kind of blew the call.
I'm watching the replay. You know what it looks like Asensio is attempting to pull off is like one of those kind of scissor type kicks where he kicks it with his foot behind. I'm probably not describing that well, but it doesn't look like he was gonna. It looked like he was gonna let the ball roll a little bit past him and do like a scissor and kind of like back heel it a little bit. That's what it kind of looks like he was attempting to do. Never got the chance because he was taken out from behind. Penalty not given wrongly in the opinion of myself and Ethan and probably all PSG supporters. But sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. We saw against Newcastle right last season that pretty much saved the Champions League season there. Was it right? There was a penalty that in that game.
Yeah,
Am I
there
remembering
was.
that correctly?
There was, yeah. So I always like to tell, especially Newcastle fans, because obviously they're still upset about it, that if they're going to believe that the ref got that penalty call wrong, which I believe he did, then why can't you believe that he didn't get the previous two wrong? You think he got all the perfect calls out of those three. If you think that ref in the Newcastle game was such a bad ref, then you're saying he only missed one of those penalty calls? No, I say he missed all three. The one that we got late in that game was pretty much bogus, but not getting the previous two were also just as bogus. So yeah, it seems like when refs in Champions League games that we're in, they're always doing funky stuff. I mean, that Newcastle penalty was to our benefit, but it shouldn't have been given. But we already should have got at least one other penalty earlier in the match. So weird. We're always, yeah. I mean, then again, I'm not watching a lot of the other teams' Champions League matches because ours are on at the same time. But we get some of the weirdest officiating, and it normally goes against us. And then even when it goes for us, it's hard to be super excited about it because we either still feel robbed from previous missed calls or the dude just truly messed up. So yeah, it is weird. I mean, anyone that follows Paris Saint-Germain knows that we have had just about the strangest Champions League journey since QSI bought this club in 2011. I mean, the amount of
It's true.
it's always something. I'll just leave it at that. It's always something with this club in the Champions League.
Always, the one Donnarumma getting pushed off by Benzema and he
Oh,
scores. I
that
mean,
was a
it's just
foul. That was a foul.
that was clearly a foul. I
But
mean, it
I don't
happens
know if we deserve to win that game anyway. But that was a foul.
absolutely. And so now, as we wrap up this topic, I guess I want to know what is your concern level. For me, it was I was looking ahead of all the games PSG had to play in the Champions League. I thought we would beat Girona, which we did. I thought we'd lose to Arsenal, which we did. I thought PSG would beat PSV, which we didn't. So this is the first one that I think PSG have dropped points, which means they're gonna have to pick up some points somewhere. I thought maybe a draw against Atletico Madrid at the Park. I think you may need to get a draw at Bayern, and you might need to get something against City. For me, looking at the table right now, PSG sit in, where are they? They're in
17th.
17th place right now. Of course, the top 24 will move on. The top 8 going to kind of getting a bye, and places 9 through 24 will go to the knockout round. So I still feel like PSG are going to qualify. I don't know if that's a concern yet. So I'm probably my concern level is probably like a 2 or 3 right now. But you lose to Atletico and then you lose to Bayern. You're probably not going to beat City. And depending how things shake out, this could get really concerning really fast. So are you kind of feeling the same way right now in terms of the table and what's ahead of PSG?
Yeah, I actually predicted a draw against PSV in August. I'm actually still 100% dead on for my predictions for this table. I just didn't think that we would be looking this poor. And so, even though I'm still dead on my predictions, if I had to guess the future games, I would change a couple results to where we're dropping points. So, I no longer think we're making top 8. That realistically that went out the window unless we beat basically everyone ahead of us except, I mean, we'd need to beat Atletico in a couple weeks. Would have to win that. And then really the only other game we could drop points against is one of Bayern or City. And, I'm pretty sure we're losing at least one of those. So,
Funny enough, Unai Emery and Aston Villa are in first place on 9 points, and then you've got Monaco in second after 3 games, and then Stade Brestois, they're in sixth place. They play tomorrow, I believe, and they have 6 points. So, yeah, a former manager and 2 French teams in the top 8. PSG, not so much.
yeah, it's strange. So I don't think there'll be any issue for us making the top 24. I think at this point our realistic goal should be to finish 9 through 15. So we're one of those seeded teams, because that's going to be full of a lot of really good teams that just didn't have the best league phase. Kind of like how we can be a very good team, but we're just not having a great league phase. You might see teams like, I mean, no, I don't think Real Madrid. I mean, at the start of the day, Real Madrid were in that kind of category. I think they still technically are, but
They're
you're
in ninth
you're
place right
you're
now.
going to see like 2 or 3 really good teams that just didn't put it all together in the fall, in autumn, in that. So if we can set ourselves up to where we don't have a chance to play those teams, then that's great because if we're in the unseeded part, if we're 16th through 24th, given our history of draws, we're going to get like, I don't know, like
Liverpool.
someone that's getting hot, yeah, but they just couldn't put it together fast enough. Yeah, we're going to get someone very, very good, like a top 10 club in the world. So,
Well,
yeah,
you got Barcelona and Bayern are playing tomorrow, and currently they sit in 18th and 19th place, just behind PSG in the table. So they played against each other. So if you're looking for a game to watch tomorrow, that's perhaps one to keep an eye on.
yeah, yeah,
I guess if there's a loser in that game,
yep.
they could be in the same position
Uh-huh.
as
I was
PSG.
going to say that. Yeah, they're a kind of team that, yeah, if one of them loses, we could see that. Yeah, could see that kind of team. Whereas teams that are going to be in 16th through 24th are going to be maybe a team like PSV that we just played, or maybe, I don't know, like an
Could
Aston
be AC
Villa,
Milan's down there.
Stuttgart, yeah, AC Milan, something like that. So, still really good teams, but you look at their team top to bottom, and you're not nearly as worried as you would be playing Barcelona or Bayern. So, um, yeah, we got to finish in that section. I mean, the nice thing about this new league phase is that a lot of people, one of their criticisms of it, and I've really liked the league phase when it was announced a couple years ago, and I went through the details of it. I was really excited, and I've loved it so far. But probably the biggest knock on it is that since the league phase, or being able to make the knockout rounds, is such a large pool of teams, 24 opposed to 16 from the old group stage format, is that it's kind of going to keep the status quo for teams. I mean, think of last year how Manchester United sucked in the group stage, and they probably would have been a team that would have snuck into the league phase knockout rounds under the current format. So you're thinking this team has been terrible, but they're pretty talented, just mismanaged, and they'd be a team that a quality side like Barcelona or Bayern might have to play in what's essentially the round of 32. So I will say it's the new formats helping us a bit. I mean, we'll basically never not make the knockout rounds again unless we are getting outplayed by clubs like Salzburg or Girona through 8 full games, which is pretty unlikely. Um, but yeah, it does kind of suck that at this point, given the way we're playing, given that Gonzalo Ramos is hurt, and that the team's just in a little bit of a funk, we're probably not making that top 8.
Currently, Atletico Madrid, they are outside the top 24. They're in 25th place with 3 points. And interestingly enough, tomorrow they play Lille. If Lille are able to get a result there, then they're going to come into the Parc against PSG, basically needing a win to stay alive, or they're going to be in deep trouble. So that could set up for a really entertaining match. And I was just looking to see where Lille are right now. Yeah, and they're in 22nd place. So that'll be a battle between those two because the winner will be firmly in that qualifying range there in the top 24. So a lot of interesting games tomorrow on Wednesday. We'll have to keep an eye. There's Ethan. There's a very interesting game as we shift gears to domestic play. Le Classique is this Sunday. PSG, they're traveling to Marseille, and what I would say, and many others would say, is probably the most highly anticipated Ligue 1 match, not only of this season, but probably in recent years, given that Marseille have really invested this summer. They brought in some players. They brought in an ex-PSG player in Adrien Rabiot. So there's a lot of it feels like the animosity, the heat between these two teams is taken up to another level, if that was even possible. So as I say all of that, and we talk about PSG's scoring woes right now, what is your feeling heading into this game? Do you expect a typical Champions League hangover, or do you think the team is really going to be up for this one, try to right some of those wrongs we talked about?
Oh gosh, that's hard to say. I mean, Marseille have kind of had a mixed bag lately too. I mean, their last three games, emphatic win last week, but before the international break, they had a draw and a loss to end it. It's yeah, it is weird. Yeah, because Marseille, they look. I mean, I don't know. We normally play them this time of the year, and then we'll usually get a win or every once in a while a draw. And then, Marseille's good for a couple more months, and then they inevitably, shoot themselves in the
Just
foot.
fizzle out.
Yeah. So
Like one of the
this,
flares they shoot off, they just fizzle out.
yeah, this team, yeah, their team feels a little bit different this year. Feels like they got a little more attacking quality. I will say they have a lot more unlikable players currently on their roster,
Oh
especially
yeah.
for PSG
Yeah.
fans. I mean, I'm not even going to go into the English guy. I'm not even going to say his name because we all know who he is. But yeah, Rabiot being there now after Rabiot was widely outspoken, anti-Marseille guy. He's thinking, PSG is always going to be my club, kind of a thing. Apparently, he's willing to give up his club for, a couple million a year when he probably had other offers on the table. So, yeah, their team is pretty unlikable, especially to Parisians right now.
Neil Mopay is pretty.
He's there,
Is he still
really?
there,
Is he? No way.
or did he go on loan? I'm trying to let me look it up real
Oh
quick.
yeah, look it up. That would be.
I gotta
I
look.
mean,
Hang on, hang on.
they've got a pretty decent squad. I mean, they've.
Yeah, he's on loan from Everton.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
that is so weird.
he's pretty unlikable.
I had no idea he was there. Yeah, I totally missed that. But so, and at the Velodrome, it's going to be a really tough atmosphere. This will probably be a tougher atmosphere than probably any Champions League game that we're going to play. I mean, let me think.
If they're not up for this, the Velodrome and those fans, they're gonna smack them upside the head with a
Yeah.
water bottle when they take a corner and wake them up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this is not a game to go into lackadaisical. Whatever. I don't. Some of the players may be new and they don't understand. Well, Marquinhos better explain to them. Marseille has had nothing to do all week other than the focus on PSG and how they want to beat the crap out of them
Yeah.
and embarrass them in this match. That is their goal. They have nothing else. They want to embarrass PSG. They want to humble them. And guess what? 3 points. If they win Marseille, they're level on points with PSG at 20 points. So, yeah, this is not a game that PSG needs to go in sleepwalking.
Yeah, this is. And I was just looking at our schedule through like the rest of the league phase for the Champions League. Other than Bayern or maybe Stuttgart, this will be. And I think the Velodrome is going to be a better atmosphere than at least one of those places, if not both.
It is going to be more hostile than Bayern Munich away. It's going to be more hostile than Arsenal away. Arsenal away was a freaking picnic. Like
Oh
those
yeah, well
supporters, give me a break.
that's English.
Newcastle was nothing.
That's English stadiums. Yeah, I mean there's a couple Premier League stadiums that have a great atmosphere. Like Newcastle last year was quality. That's one of the best that they got. But going back to the Velodrome, I was in France a couple years ago. I thought of going to that game. My buddy obviously, and I knew this, but he warned me. If you're gonna go, just don't bring PSG stuff. Just wear like a neutral, just neutral colors. Um, but I've only seen the stadium, haven't been in, but I am. Hopefully, no one identifies me on social media too much someday. I mean, you could easily find me if you wanted, but
You're
But
going to be ordering a beer there, and you're like, I know that voice. Get him.
I'm gonna go to Le Classique at the Velodrome someday. I'm gonna do it, and when I do, I'll report in with my findings. Surely I'll be horrified, but I feel like anyone who knows ball knows that PSG at the Velodrome is definitely within that bunch of these. You do not want to go into this if you are a supporting, a fan of the away team, and you're not just in, because you have some of these rivalries, like these like second Bundesliga rivalries, and they have big stadiums. Germany's known for big stadiums and phenomenal atmospheres, and you get these really hostile rivalry games, and these fans have to be separated, escorted in by police, all that. And that's sort of the same thing at PSG at the Velodrome, but the stadium is double or triple the size, and the way that stadium's built kind of keeps noise in, which can just make it just absolutely deafening, intimidating. I mean, we've seen, yeah, like you said, we've seen when we're taking corner kicks, you got their whatever French SWAT is called, with the riot shields protecting Hakimi or Lee on the corner. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We better not slack off, because I can't. We mentioned at the very beginning of the episode, with all my sports teams sucking right now, I cannot handle a loss to
You can't
Marseille.
handle a classic
I
law.
I I hate. There's only one other rivalry game in all my sports teams that I hate more than PSG losing to Marseille. I cannot, and I follow a lot of sports for anyone who doesn't know. So we're talking 10 plus rivalries there. I cannot stand losing to them. It's just, especially when Marseille is good, losing to them, it's just not acceptable. You just can't do it. So,
And that's the thing. They are good. They are within striking distance of PSG, and that's only going to get the crowd even more into this match.
yeah,
I remembered it was last season um, that Marseille fans attacked Leo's bus. Do you remember that? And I think it was
yeah.
the Leo manager had to get like stitches on his face, or it was like bruised
It
really
was,
bad. There
yep.
was
I
it,
remember that. Something like that. Yeah, yeah.
so just PSG getting to the stadium is going to be a challenge. You don't think Marseille fans are going to try to do something to the bus or interrupt the normal schedule for PSG? They're going to do everything they can to get their team an advantage. So yeah, if the team isn't up for this one, then we have really serious problems. This is the biggest rivalry in France. This is PSG Marseille at a hostile stadium. Top of the table on the line here. If they lose and lose bad, say 3-0, we're going to be back on this podcast, asking some serious questions.
Yeah, yeah, it's whatever Luis Enrique needs to, there's always this debate. I studied sports psychology. That was a lot of some of the classes I took in college, as I studied a lot of sport business, and then, that sort of realm. And in my sports psychology classes, it's a pretty widely spoken thing of, you want to have your players in the right state of mind before you play. You don't want to have them too mellow, but you also don't want to have them too riled up. You want to have them in this nice spot where they're playing with fire, but still controlled.
Controlled chaos.
This might be the one time where I might say, hey, maybe kind of push it on the edge of too much energy. Because if we come out kind of looking flat and Marseille is flying around, they're going to try and make bone crunching tackles. If they get a couple of that, and we begin the game a bit timid, then their crowd is just going to be um, just all fired up. They're going to be so loud. We got to come out to this game with almost like too much energy to start off, I think, and so it's a big
Do
one.
you know what I want to see? Have you ever seen the video? It was back in the day. John Henderson, he played for the Jaguars, and he always, before games, he'd have his coach literally slap him in the face as hard as he can. And he'd be like, yeah, give me another one. And then he gets slapped again. Like, I want to see Vitinha doing that, going up to like Luis Enrique, smack me, let's go. Like, this needs to be taken serious. And so hopefully, I don't know. Do we want to give prediction? I'm almost a little. I don't think PSG wins this game. I'm gonna say I'm hoping for maybe a 2-2. Let's go high scoring. I don't think they win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2-0 Marseille. I don't have great feeling just based off of the lack of goal scoring, the fact that we sort of, crap the bed in these hostile stadiums. I just haven't seen it under a Luis Enrique team yet, other than away at Barcelona, which wasn't even their real stadium. That's the last time we really saw it, and that was with Mbappe. So I'm not feeling great about this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also probably going to go draw. I'm just going to go 1-1. I bet we score first in some kind of weird goal that Marseille fans will want waved off. And then they'll get one probably like 15 minutes later, and there'll be 100 water bottles on the pitch. And then
It'll be like last weekend Texas fans just throwing water
oh my
bottles.
gosh, yeah, that was funny. So I think it's going to be like a 1-1 draw, but yeah, it's that's probably what I'll go with. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, we've got a few days to prepare for that one. Like I said, it'll be on Sunday, this Sunday, October 27th. Make sure you're in front of the TV for that one. It is going to be an epic match. Ethan, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you all out there for listening to us ramble on about all things PSG. Thank you for those who have subscribed. Really appreciate your support. We'll have a lot more on all things PSG, including that match this Sunday against Marseille. But until next time, bye for now.